For more than 2 decades, laptop screens followed the same story. They became brighter, they became sharper, they became thinner, but deep inside, they were still fighting the same limitations. Backlights always leaked, blacks were never truly black, colors were forced through filters, and power was constantly wasted to light pixels that should have been dark. Even the best LCD and mini LED displays were still using light behind the screen instead of light inside the screen. This is why OLED matters, because OLED is not an upgrade. It is a replacement of the entire system. Before OLED, MacBooks relied on traditional LCD technology, later upgraded to mini LED in high-end models. These displays were excellent in brightness and sharpness, but they were still dependent on a backlight. That backlight never truly turned off, so blacks were always gray, contrast was limited, halos appeared around bright objects, and energy was constantly being consumed even when the screen was showing dark content. Professionals learned to live with it, but the limitations never disappeared. OLED changes this from the root. In OLED, every single pixel produces its own light. There is no backlight. There is no glow behind the image. When something is black, the pixel is completely off. When something is bright, only that pixel is lit. This is why OLED delivers infinite contrast, perfect blacks, richer colors, faster response time, and far better power efficiency. For years, Apple watched OLED mature in phones and TVs. They studied the problems, including burn-in, brightness degradation, and power inefficiency in large panels. They waited for manufacturing to improve. They waited for durability to reach professional standards. They waited for OLED to become stable, bright, and long-lasting enough for a laptop that must work 10 hours a day, every day, for years. 2026 is the year Apple decides that OLED is finally ready to replace LCD forever. The new MacBook OLED display is not just OLED. It is a new generation of tandem OLED panels, where two OLED layers are stacked together. This allows much higher brightness without stressing a single layer, extends lifespan, improves color stability, and reduces burn-in risk. This is how Apple solves the biggest weakness of OLED and transforms it into a professional-grade display. Brightness reaches levels that rival mini LED, but without halos, without glow, and without washed blacks. HDR content becomes truly cinematic. Shadows hold detail instead of turning gray. Highlights shine without affecting nearby pixels. Colors appear more natural because OLED does not require color filters blocking light. What you see is purer, cleaner, and closer to reality. Text looks sharper because there is no light bleed. Photos feel deeper because blacks are absolute. Videos feel immersive because contrast is infinite. This is the first time a MacBook screen can rival professional reference monitors. The design of the 2026 MacBook evolves around this display. The panel is thinner, allowing a slimmer lid and lighter body. Bezels shrink because OLED does not need space for backlight systems. The hinge is redesigned for smoother one-hand opening. The entire machine feels more refined, more futuristic, and more premium. Inside, Apple's next-generation silicon works in perfect harmony with OLED. Because OLED turns off black pixels, power usage drops dramatically during everyday tasks like browsing, writing, or watching dark-themed content. This means longer battery life without increasing battery size. Apple combines this with a more efficient chip, faster neural engine, stronger GPU, and better memory bandwidth. The result is a laptop that feels faster, cooler, and quieter, while lasting longer on a single charge. For creators, this changes everything. Photo editing becomes more accurate because true blacks and real contrast reveal details that were previously hidden. Video editors see exactly how their HDR content will look on high-end TVs. Designers trust color consistency. What you create on the MacBook finally matches what others see. For gamers and media lovers, OLED transforms the experience. Games look more realistic. Dark scenes feel deep. Explosions glow. Motion feels smoother due to faster pixel response. Movies become immersive instead of flat. But the biggest impact is not just visual. It is strategic. When Apple shifts MacBooks to OLED, the entire laptop industry follows. Manufacturers retool factories. Software adapts to true blacks. content creators design for old contrast. Display standards evolve. This is not a feature upgrade. This is a technological transition. Just like Retina changed pixel density and Apple Silicon changed performance, OLED now changes how we see. This is why 2026 is not just another MacBook year. It is the beginning of the OLED era. For months, the world has been asking one question: not if old MacBooks are coming, but when. Because Apple does not announce change early. They reveal it when the future is already ready. According to industry supply chains, display manufacturers, and Apple's own upgrade cycle, the old MacBook transition is not a distant dream anymore. It is scheduled for Apple's next major notebook refresh window in late 2026, when the entire MacBook lineup enters a new design and display era. Apple traditionally reveals its biggest Mac upgrades between September and November, right after iPhone season, when attention shifts to productivity, creators, and professional users. This is the same stage where Apple introduced Apple Silicon, mini LED MacBooks, and major redesigns. OLED follows that exact timeline. The first OLED models are expected to appear in October 2026, during Apple's dedicated Mac event, where the company will position OLED not as a luxury feature, but as the new standard for premium notebooks. The launch will begin with the flagship models first. The Apple MacBook Pro line is expected to lead the OLED transition. Apple always introduces new display technologies on its professional lineup before expanding them to mainstream devices. The 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models will be the first OLED-powered Macs, setting the visual standard for the entire industry. After that, Apple will gradually expand OLED to the rest of the lineup. The MacBook Air is expected to adopt OLED in 2027, once production scales and costs stabilize. This means 2026 is the starting point of the OLED takeover, not the end. When Apple introduces a technology that changes the industry, the first question is always price. Will it be expensive? Will it be exclusive? Will it be only for professionals? The truth is, OLED will raise prices slightly at first, but not dramatically. The current Mini LED MacBook Pro already sits in a premium category. OLED will replace Mini LED, not stack on top of it. This means the price increase will feel like a natural evolution rather than a shock. Industry analysts expect the OLED MacBook Pro lineup to start around. The 14-inch OLED MacBook Pro is expected to begin near $2,099 USD, while the 16-inch OLED MacBook Pro is expected to start around $2,499 USD, depending on configuration and storage options. Higher-end models with upgraded chips, more memory, and larger SSDs will naturally cross the $3,000 mark, but the base models will remain within reach of professionals, creators, and serious users. Apple knows this is not just a display upgrade. This is a platform shift. They want adoption, not hesitation. OLED must feel premium, but possible. What this means for the industry. This pricing strategy sends a message. OLED is no longer experimental. OLED is no longer luxury. OLED is now the new normal. Once Apple makes this move, every major laptop brand will follow. OLED panels will become mass-produced. Prices will fall, and within a few years, LCD will feel outdated. This is how revolutions begin. Not loudly, but inevitably. So when you hear people ask, when is OLED coming to MacBooks? The answer is simple. Not someday. Not eventually. It starts in 2026. This is the year the screen finally catches up to the power inside the MacBook. This is the year OLED takes over.